In 2022, I was on a tour in Egypt and we went to the Assyrian. This place struck a nerve with me, and I think I know what this site is all about. As you can see, this is a megalithic site. Those blocks down there are enormous. Here's a bit of the footage. Some of it I've taken, and most of it, all the good stuff, was taken by one of the other people on the tour whose channel is called Ancient Connection. And they took some amazing footage, so I really do suggest you check out their channel. Before I get into what I think this site is all about, I'm just going to take you through it, and I'm also going to look at what other people have to say about the site. So I'm going to look at it from the perspective of the archaeologists, and I'm going to look at it from some independent researchers, just the key players as I see it. And I'm not going to look at it from the perspective of psychics. I know some of you might consider me to fall into that category, but I don't consider myself a psychic. It is, of course, very tempting to start talking about Dorothy Edy, who actually worked at the site and had a lot of theories on this topic. And it's particularly relevant to me because I've been compared to this lovely lady. And as I get older, I find it more and more of a compliment, even though I don't think of myself as a psychic. I just have crazy weird dreams. She was recognized by many as an archaeologist, but the perspective of the archaeologists I'm going to get from the Assyrian project, and I'm going to look at all the main players of the independent researchers on Egypt, and probably a few extras as well, just for good measure. But the key ones that I think we'll be looking at are ancient architects, as well as NEXT from Adept Expeditions. I understand that next is going to be putting out a video, hopefully in the near future, on the subject of the Assyrian, because he's actually uncovered something of great interest. He was one of the tour guides that I had in Egypt, and he was fantastic. But he was not with me at the Assyrian. The tour guide at the Assyrian was Muhammad Ibrahim, and you'll find him on YouTube as the Guide of Egypt. Back to the other independent researchers that I'm going to look at. One is Johanna James of Funny Old World, as well as Ben from Uncharted X, and of course you can't go past Jimmy of Bright Insight. And yes, I am going to look at Megalithomania, as well as Brian Forster, and of course the new player on the block, the Land of Chem. Just going to start in this episode, which will be part 1 of my series on the Assyrian, by just going through the tour, looking at some of the photos, and just getting a feel for the site. So before you enter the site, you have to walk past it, and you can look down on it from above. And this is the perspective that most people see it from, because not very many people get to go inside and get a really close-up look at the place. So as you actually get through the tunnel and round and into the Osirion, this is how you enter it, through this entranceway. And here is our tour guide, Muhammad Ibrahim. And just looking at the size of these blocks is in itself amazing. And there's often these little tiny blocks around as well. And I will explain those when we come to my full explanation of what I think this is all about. But for now, we're just going to get the feel for it. I'm going to try and give you all the best footage so that you can really feel as if you have been there and seen this amazing structure with these massive, massive blocks. I had the weirdest feeling of deja vu when I was here. I really felt like I knew this place, but I hadn't actually seen exactly this in any of my dreams or anything that I could put my finger on. After the tour, I came across the picture of the Last Supper, and bang, I thought, oh my goodness, that's the Assyrian. So I thought I'd look up on the internet and see if anybody else has noticed that the painting of the Last Supper seems to be set in the Assyrian. And lo and behold, yes, there is one other person who seems to have come to the same conclusion as me. So I'll just put up their details so you can look them up if you'd like to. So her name is Patricia Corey, and I haven't read the book or anything, but I just found it very interesting. And the more you look at the Assyrian, the more you cannot get it out of your mind that it is the same place as in the painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Let's now have a look at a 3D reconstruction of the site by a YouTube creator called Konstantin Evchenko. These 3D renditions not only give you a really wonderful feel for the way it would have looked, but also they give you the scale really well. You can really feel the size and the majesty of this amazing building. But let's get back to the footage of the tour that I was on. And of course, it would be negligent of me not to point out the flower of life, or the tree of life as can also be called, because this is actually a really big hint at what this site is really all about. And I will put the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together for you in my final episode. But let's get back to the subject of the perspective of the archaeologists. To get a good idea of what the archaeologists are up to at Abydos, at the Assyrian in particular, I thought I'd have a good look at the Assyria project. And this is what I found on their website. And it's got some really interesting things. So let's have a quick walk through it. Front page, there's a quote by Dorothy Edy, aka Seti, which says, "One day a patient archaeologist may come to Abydos to investigate its unknown and fascinating possibilities. Maybe he will stir the enthusiasm and admiration of the entire world, maybe with something bigger and more important than Lord Carnarvon's discovery of Tutankhamun's mortuary treasures in 1922. By the use of this quote at the start, what they're really saying is that they believe that this is something big and that something really, really important is eventually going to be found about this site or in this site. So the quote from Seti is very clear that she has really great expectations of what they're going to find there. As you can see, this site has a lot of interesting bits and pieces on it, but the thing that interested me next was the reference to James Westerman, because it had a link to his site and the information that he has about the Osirion. So that was my next port of call. The website is very interesting, but it wasn't giving me the answers to the questions that I'd come here for, which is, what do the archaeologists actually think about this site? Or maybe it does have these answers somewhere and I couldn't find them, but it's still interesting because it looks at what's gone on in the past and also what is being planned for the future in terms of the work to to be done on this site. So I then went to the James Westerman website, and here I did find some answers, and I'd like to share them with you because these are really good. So Westerman, one of the lead archaeologists, lists out the burning questions that most people have about this site. The first question is, when was the Osirion built? And remember, this is from the perspective of the archaeologists. It says, the Osirion is a unique monument among the ruins of ancient Egypt. In terms of design and construction, no building like it has ever been discovered. Without the advantage of contemporary benchmarks, dating the Osirion is complicated. Architecturally, it is Old Kingdom design. The Osirion had to have been built before the adjoining Seti temple, because it is founded so deep that the hole it rests in would have extended well into the site of the Seti temple during construction. Perhaps this is one reason the Seti temple has its unique L shape. One of the questions is to determine by whom and when the foundation of the Osirion was laid. It may be possible to do this if we can figure out how to excavate down to the foundation of the Osirion, or find a way to explore the cavities in the central island. I will keep my opinion to myself at this stage, but needless to say, I don't believe it was during the Old Kingdom. The next question is, why was the Osirion built? And the answer given is, despite archaeological investigations starting in 1900 and spanning more than a century, we still don't know why the Osirion was built. The question is significant because of the extreme engineering problems embedded in this structure, which I infer from physical attributes of the exposed stone, the drilling and seismic mapping of and around the site. These problems required nothing less than Herculean resources, skill, and determination to solve. What motivated the builder to solve them? What did they want to accomplish? Is the Osirion a temple of worship, a testament to a god, the tomb of a god, or maybe the tomb of a king? Did it serve several of these purposes, or some other purpose entirely? With further research and analysis, I hope to find out why the Osirion was built. This is the one question that I can actually explain, and I will leave that till the end of this series and give you a full explanation of why this site was put in place and how it actually operated. The next question that he addresses is, how was the Osirion built? And he makes some very interesting points in this regarding where the stones of the Osirion came from and the amount of effort it took to make this structure. But I'll let you read that for yourself, so go to his website and check out his answer. The same with the question of, why was it built in water? And what is the source of the water in the Osirion? This is also very interesting. And what items does the Osirion still contain? And finally, why is the water temperature in the Osirion different to the water temperature in the other wells and in the Nile? These are all very interesting questions, and some of these questions have not been answered, but it's well worth going to his website and actually reading it for yourself. It'll give you a whole new perspective on this amazing site. One of the most interesting comments that he makes is that the Osirion is the equivalent of an 8-story building situated entirely below ground, with water flooding its interior in ways that were envisioned and controlled by the architects. So projects are going on right at the moment in this area, and they're doing some very significant work. And I can predict what I think they will find, and I think there will just be water. It will be water in the outer areas and in the inner cavities. But the reason for all this water is something that I will leave to the end to answer. But that's my prediction of what they will find. And there is a very good reason for why this had to be the way it is. In part 2, I'm going to be looking at some of the various independent researchers and what they think on the Osirion. So hopefully the next episode will be coming out reasonably quickly, and then we can get on with looking at all the pieces of this intriguing jigsaw puzzle and my theories on this subject.